When we hear about a massive disaster, our first instinct is usually to blame the hardware. We picture a sudden, violent physical break. But when investigators actually sift through the wreckage of sunken ships or exploded space shuttles, they rarely find a single, isolated mechanical villain, which raises a strange question. If modern safety regulations are strict and our machines are built with multiple layers of redundancy, how do immense catastrophes keep slipping through the cracks? This flowchart maps out the anatomy of a disaster. It requires a specific three-step chain reaction of human error to bypass modern fail-safes. This cascade shifts focus from machine failure to organizational culture. A system fails when humans allow this sequence to align. Every disaster starts quietly with phase 1, the latent flaw. This is a tiny, invisible mathematical or procedural oversight baked into a project's foundation long before any physical construction begins. Take the Mars Climate Orbiter. In 1999, NASA launched this $125 million mission to study the Martian atmosphere. This diagram illustrates exactly what brought it down. The spacecraft's contractor, Lockheed Martin, programmed their navigation software using imperial units, pound-for-seconds, but NASA's team expected metric data. For 9 months, those mismatched measurements compounded until the orbiter plummeted into the planet's thin atmosphere and burned up. The RMS Titanic was also doomed by invisible math. The popular narrative blames an iceberg, but the ship's safety architecture was already severely compromised. The ship's watertight bulkheads had a critical limitation. Many only extended up to E-deck. If the bow dipped low enough, water could simply spill over from one compartment to the next. Combine that with a legally compliant, yet drastically inadequate lifeboat capacity of roughly 1,178 people for a ship carrying 2,200 passengers, setting the stage. In isolation, these latent flaws do no immediate damage. They sit silently in the blueprints, acting as primed explosives, waiting for bureaucracy to ignore them. That brings us to phase 2. The bureaucratic blindfold. This is the period where experts spot the fatal flaw, but management actively suppresses or ignores the data. The loss of the Space Shuttle Challenger in 1986 is a harrowing example. The disaster was explicitly predicted by the engineers at Morton Thiokol, the company that built these solid rocket boosters. Those engineers warned that unusually freezing temperatures on launch day would cause the rubber O-ring seals in the booster joints to stiffen and fail. But NASA was under enormous political pressure to get the shuttle in the air. Management overruled their own engineering team and gave the go-ahead. A similar communication breakdown preceded the September 11th attacks. Lower-level FBI agents like Kenneth Williams in Phoenix wrote memos with stark warnings. They warned that foreign nationals linked to terror networks were taking lessons at American flight schools. Because of siloed intelligence between agencies, those warnings died on supervisors' desks. When organizational momentum becomes the primary goal, technical warnings are treated as a nuisance to be silenced, rather than a catastrophe to be prevented. Even with a latent flaw and ignored warnings, a system usually holds together until phase 3, the fatal override. This is the moment human operators push a compromised system past the point of no return. On April 26, 1986, operators at the Chernobyl nuclear plant were attempting a safety test. Delayed for hours into the night shift, the reactor fell to a dangerously low power level, allowing neutron-absorbing xenon gas to build up and poison the reaction. As we can see in this cross-section of the reactor core, to compensate for the low power and force the test through, the operators intentionally removed most of the control rods. By removing these rods that regulate the nuclear reaction, they were actively dismantling their own safety net, making the core highly unstable. When they finally hit the emergency shutdown button, a flaw in the control rod design caused a massive, uncontrollable power surge. 2 explosions destroyed the core, blasting its biological shield into the sky and releasing radioactive fallout across Europe. We see the same active dismantling in Bhopal, India, at the Union Carbide pesticide plant. During night maintenance, workers bypassed routine isolation procedures, allowing water to flow into a tank of toxic methyl isocyanate. Pressure skyrocketed, while safety systems were either deactivated or completely overwhelmed. A system is only as strong as the people operating it. When humans intentionally bypass fail-safes, they provide the final trigger for mass disaster. The physical consequences of these organizational failures are permanent. Following Chernobyl, 50,000 citizens were evacuated in silence, leaving behind an entire city frozen in time as a monument to human error. In Bhopal, a massive relief valve burst, sending a deadly toxic gas cloud into the sleeping city. Thousands of people died in a matter of days, and hundreds of thousands more suffered long-term exposure. We can build thicker steel bulkheads, write redundant software code, and install countless warning lights, but we cannot engineer away the flaws of human pride and bureaucratic pressure. The most effective safety measure remains a culture that prioritizes expert testimony, demands transparency, and possesses the humility to halt a chain reaction while there is still time to turn back.